team is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese.
Oh, g'day, folks. How you going? Hope you're having a bloody good Friday. I hope it's a little cooler for you where you are than it is where I am. My room, where I'm currently broadcasting from, is very hot. Very, very hot. I mean, it does face west, so it doesn't help in the afternoons when the sun's out. But look, I've got to say, if you're in southeast Queensland, well, Queensland in general, probably a fair portion of northern New South Wales, it's bloody humid. It's been a lovely day today. Only had a huge amount of rain overnight, but a lovely day today that unfortunately just draws all the moisture back out of the ground again. Well, not all of it, because there's a shitload of it in the ground, and that in part is going to cause us some problems in the next week or two because of the volume of water that's going to be coming our way through what will soon be, I think, termed a cyclone. They expect it will probably turn into a cyclone sometime over the weekend, maybe Monday at the latest. And, well, we'll get into that a little bit later on. First of all, let's get into the chat and see who was first in the house tonight. I did see it earlier, but it's escaped me. Billy Neville, Buckaroo. Very nice to have you in, Billy. I think you're, well, probably first time, first in, got to say. Well done. G'day, Chris, Toxic, Dave O's in the house. I think there's a few comments that I've been able to keep a look at. Dave, let's get into yours first. Anyone seen the modified report on COVID that kills humanized mice 8 days after infection? Yes, I have seen that. Yes, it is being worked on in Wuhan at their lab there again. And I'm not sure if it is also being worked on at a biolab in Montana. You've heard of disease X. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later on too. Aussie Sue, how are you, darling? Hope things are all going well up your part of the woods. It'll probably be getting wet up your way. And I guess cyclone's sort of on the east coast, so you might be protected a little bit from flooding from the north, although I don't know. Actually, you probably should be okay with this one because it looks like it's going to stand off the coast for a little while. So anyway, we'll get into that. Hopefully the water is going to where it's needed. I was having a bit of a look today on the map, and areas sort of more westerly of you, I think, are still drought affected or declared. And south of you, there might be some areas around you that are still drought declared. So this bit of rain could be very welcome. Dave, what are you talking about here? Sign of the times when it comes to the end of an age. The fourth turning, also the 12,000-year cycle, makes things fun as it nears completion. I was listening to a very interesting podcast today about cycles and the global cycle that we are in. Now, our global cycle, according to this particular podcaster, was in the range of 2,000 years, which puts the last change around about the time of Christ. Now, this particular podcaster was putting forward a proposition that our entire history and everything that had been before that period was rewritten. They removed entire civilizations and started telling us a whole new story, a controlled story, and it has been running quite happily for 2,000 years. But the world is turning, or is it? I guess that depends on which side of the flat Earth theory you stand on, because there are some very interesting theories, further theories about how the flat Earth works, and I'm not getting into it tonight, but there is certainly more information coming out. Whether you choose to look at it, understand it, put it to the test, see if you can find out more detail about it or not, that's entirely up to you. I've got a few other things I'm looking at the moment, and to go and do all that. Well, I'll probably bring you pieces of other people's work in that regard. Suze, what are you saying here? None 2K is back. Well, look, None 2K, funnily enough, and I don't want to talk too much about it, hasn't ever been removed. What has been removed is the other two main channels. I think I got Voice of Freedom back about 2 days ago, I think. So the show is going out on Voice of Freedom, VOI space CE Freedom. It's going out on there. I got that one back a couple of days ago. It's not monetized. I've lost the Voice of Freedom account completely. That's been removed forever, and I could probably show you somewhere the notification I get when I try and log into the account. That also stands for None 2K. However, for some reason, the channel is still live. Now, that was the only monetized channel that I had, but I have no access to the studio, the back studio. They've locked me out of that completely. So the channel might still be up, but any revenue, and they did take revenue. In fact, I've got to be honest, YouTube has never been a good earner, so to speak. We're not making thousands of dollars a month out of it. Never think that. In fact, this month would have been, and I say would have for a reason, this month would have been the best YouTube month I would have ever had, and it was going to be just under $500. So that would have been the best month I would have ever had, I think, from memory. And it was just actually, it might have been just over $512, I want to say, from memory. But that fluctuated on a daily basis. And as it came closer to the payday in past, that has dropped back to less than $100. I don't know how the advertising revenue that you've already earned gets reduced the closer you get to the pay date, but that has been 100% of my experience with YouTube. Now, they won't pay me for the channel or the advertising that they gain, that whatever though it was at last time I looked at it, 500, let's call it $512. I will not get that. They will not pay that. That'll go straight back to them, along with all the other advertising revenue that they earned through my video, and I'll get nothing. So I expect, now that I've spoken about this in depth, somebody at YouTube will pull the plug on that channel as well. So don't expect None 2K to be up for terribly long. And if that is the case, then I would recommend that you go over to Rumble and search out the Voice of Freedom, or Ozeye, Ozeye. I want to say g'day to Ray from Down Under, who's in the Rumble chat at the moment. He's passing on his best regards from an old mate from America. Chuck O'Celli, marvelous guy, does a podcast out of the States as well. He's based in Georgia, and lovely fella, and well worth having a listen to, the O'Celli Effect. I will slip a link up. So yeah, but Chuck's a great guy. We've actually tried a couple of times to hook it up so that he can come on with us here, and I've done his show a few times, and I'd love to have him on here, but for one reason or another, more time zone and his health more than anything else, we haven't been able to hook it up. But hopefully that will happen at some stage this year. Let's put it that way. Aussie Sue, this bit of news caught my eye. This is just horrendous news, and I'm so sorry for your loss. A close friend in America was found 3 days ago, beaten to death. She was living alone. She lost her husband last August. Some are saying possible illegals, as she was, at or near the border. Just horrendous. And I'm sorry for your loss. I don't know what more we can say for that, but obviously there's a lot of feeling for you in the chat tonight for that too, including Phil's message and others too. And yeah, you're quite right. It does make you think about all the illegals they're letting into Australia. Pardon me, but it's probably less the illegals they're bringing in now, and more the ones that were brought in under the Gillard crud abortion of a Labor government, where we had over 50,000 illegals turn up by boat and it was essentially a free-for-all, all of whom were fighting-age men. There were very, very few women. All, for the most part, were fighting-age men, dripping in gold, all holding the latest mobile phones, the latest Versace luggage, all very, very well-to-do. Funnily enough, there were a few children amongst that, boys usually, and we've heard many horror stories from Australian servicemen in the Royal Australian Navy who have seen evidence of young children being thrown over the edge of these boats. They're obviously dead, and we now know through pretty much the same sources why they were killed and how. And these young boys, for the most part, were brought on for entertainment for the crossing for all the men on board. So they were abused, used up, and when their bodies could take no more, they were thrown overboard. And they didn't want to get caught with those sort of kids, with that sort of damage on them, when a Australian Navy vessel pulled up. Now, the Australian Navy at the time were under government orders not to interfere with that kind of thing, just to pick up anybody who was on the boat and bring them safely back to Christmas Island. They talk a lot about cells in America, terror cells in America, danger cells in America. Well, I think we have to be very careful in Australia as well. They've had, over 10 years, probably closer to 15 years, with all the borders essentially pulled down, bar the occasional Liberal government. Gillard and co managed to get tens of thousands of these people through. And you may well recall that they were buying hotels and motels to put them up in while they were deciding what to do with them. Some of them wound up in detention. And of course, now we know that the federal Labor government have gone ahead and let them out. So, yeah, there's a lot of disgusting shit going on with bloody illegals at the moment. And, I guess I may as well start here with what's going on in Queensland with them. Now, the satanic Premier, Stephen Miles, has just come out with, "We've bought this vacant hotel in South Brisbane to give homeless families a safe place to stay, because every Queenslander deserves a roof over their heads." Let's read that first line again. "We've just bought this vacant hotel." Remember that line. "Work will be done as quickly as possible to turn the hotel rooms into self-contained units for people's needs. We've already bought or leased 2 other inner-city hotels, as well as former retirement villages and aged care facilities in Clayfield, Toowoomba, Redlands and Rothwell. All of them are being used as accommodation for people at risk of homelessness." Well, if they're at risk of homelessness, wouldn't they still have a roof over their head? You're not at risk of homelessness if you don't have a home. You're bloody homeless. Anyway, let's not nitpick. "It means more Queenslanders have a place to stay while we get on with our big social housing build." The we've part. We've already bought or leased 2 inner city hotels. We've just bought this vacant hotel in South Brisbane. Who exactly is we, is the question I have for this pathetic excuse for a bloody human being. It won't be the Labor Party's coffers that have bought those hotels. It will be Queenslanders, taxpayers, who have bought those hotels. He mentions Toowoomba in this dick-sucking bloody self-serving tweet, or whatever they call it these days, X. And he mentions Toowoomba. My question is, are they leasing back space out of the quarantine centre that they built in Toowoomba, the $340+ million quarantine centre built by the Wagner Group and other associated government-affiliated entities or supported contractors? And then, after building this mini city at the end of the airport out there, A city that can put in, well, small city, 3,000 people. Can house 3,000 people, little kitchenette. Okay, they're one-room apartments with air conditioning, somewhere to cook, somewhere to have a shower and a shit, and somewhere to sleep. They've got recreation areas, all those kind of things. Oh, there's a fence around it, big fence around it. But that's all right. The gates will be open for a while. My question is, that facility was handed back to the Wagner Group for nothing before Anastasia Palaszczuk vacated the premises. So not only did the Wagner Group build, in conjunction with others, this $340 million project, it is my understanding that the Queensland government, under Pluckerfuck, handed the whole thing back to them free, gratis, nix. I'll just remind you, her boyfriend, the fellow she's now planning to share the rest of her life with, I believe, is the brother of the wife of one of the Wagner gentlemen that run the Wagner Group. It's a pretty tight little group. Pretty tight little group. What a great retirement that would be if you could have a 3,000 room hotel leased back at government rates on a daily rate as your retirement fund. Wouldn't that be lovely? I wonder if that's what the Queensland government are doing. I wonder if that twat's going to get up and explain that horrendous tattoo that's on his shoulder as well. Oh, just thinking, he could do with a bit of help there. All right, let's keep on moving. What other pictures have I got to show you? Here's an interesting one. That's a red door. You know what red doors are about? Well, apparently in Hollywood, there are 7 of these secret red doors. They lead to a tunnel that is 10 miles long. Satanic ritual abuse victims were brought through these red doors and into the tunnels. 5 of the doors are in Hollywood. What happens? Well, all the usual things that you would expect to see in a satanic ritual abuse scenario happen. I also am led to believe that there was one of these doors under the Playboy Mansion and another one in Jack Nicholson's basement. So there were a few others that led to direct to Hollywood homes as well. Whether or not they joined into this tunnel or whatever, I don't exactly know. But we all know the kind of shit that goes down there. The Golden Globes recently, Dame Joan Collins turns up, 90 years old. I mean, I am staggered. That's really good plastic surgery, isn't it? For 90. I mean, I couldn't blow that picture up much, and I can't now. But the neck is usually pretty telling with any age. But with Joan Collins, not the case. So what's the go with Joan Collins? Is this a mask? Is somebody playing her? I wouldn't have thought so. Easy enough just to knock her off. Does she have her own stash of adrenochrome? Because we're led to believe that there is no more production of adrenochrome happening for these sickos. But my God, 90 years of age. Whew. Gotta say, pretty wild kind of stuff. Pretty wild kind of stuff. All right. We've been talking about Disease X on and off. So Disease X is what they are planning for to be the next pandemic. And they're calling it X because they haven't decided to give it any kind of a name yet. But as we spoke earlier in the show with the comment about this new version of the cough that actually attacks the host once it gets inside, and as was said, kills these humanized mice within 8 days, and they killed them by attacking the brain. So why are they developing these kinds of things? And the short answer to that is because then they can give you the vaccine for it. The plan is to give us many, many, many shots, keep us tethered to a needle, so to speak. And they're talking about new and interesting ways of delivering such things. This rather interesting little gizmo is called a microneedle vaccination patch. And this technology is how they plan on delivering our jabs in the future. Each of those, prongs, I don't know what you want to call them, spikes, needles. Well, they are needles, so let's call them what they are. Each of those can be programmed with a different kind of solution to inject into you. So they have, they're curled a bit like python's teeth. So they will go onto the body, stay on the body for a period of time, and will be much less invasive, much less painful, all that kind of thing, easy to sort out with kids. But you will get multiple mRNA jabs through interesting little things like that. This gives you a little bit of an idea of how this works, how it comes together, how deeply it penetrates into the skin and associated other bits. It gives you a little bit of, it looks like more like a roofing truss piece, doesn't it? You know, but that also looks like it's got 4 screw holes and could well be screwed into a computer keyboard. And judging by the size of the, is it tweezers holding it? I don't know. It could well be a computer part, but maybe that's what they're planning. These are just part of what it's coming to. That might have been an early one. This could be the latest development. The transdermal innovation. You can go and check Delta Mode Tech yourselves. They are a real place. And then this leads us to Disease X. What is Disease X? Well, it's going to be the disease that we all must get jabbed for it, because it will kill instantly. And there is a whole heap of other distraction being placed around it, including the idea of war, not just in Europe, certainly not just in Europe. I did see earlier today or this evening, as I was getting ready for the show, and it doesn't look like the picture has downloaded, which is a bit of a bummer. Let me just see if I can find it. I haven't had time to confirm this, which is probably why it hasn't downloaded. And Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Israel has had enough. He believes they are funding Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, and many other terrorist elements. So Israel will attack Iran. That was the statement that I saw. Whether or not that comes to fruition, I guess only the next 24, 48 hours or so will tell. Maybe it's something that I guess, I can't see it going too much longer than that. That's a pretty big statement to make. So be careful. Watch what's happening in Israel. And certainly if Israel attacks Iran, could be very interesting. Wednesday, the 22nd of February is the time, date, and place I would love you to come along and have a bit of a talk to the girls, because Mary Jane will be there along with Cass, about self-managed super funds. If you haven't got your self-managed super fund yet, or if you haven't got the information pack, if you don't fully appreciate quite what benefits you can get out of a self-managed super fund, I urge you to email me now, carl@vofhq.com. I will send that off to Cass, or in fact, you could email cass@vofhq.com. Send your inquiry to her. She will make sure you get the information pack. I would urge you to read that sooner rather than later. If the decision is that you want to proceed forward, I would follow to the letter what they require. Get it done as quickly as possible, because a lot of the intel that I was hearing today was based around financial advice, or not financial advice, the way the financial system may work in the future, Nasara Jasara, which we'll get to in the not too distant future, and things of that ilk, gold, silver, where those prices might go, and what will be the trigger for all of that. So we'll get into that shortly, but I would urge you If you still have all of your super in Big Super, I would urge you to at least take a portion of it out and turn it into gold and or silver particularly, but gold. If you can afford some gold at the moment, I haven't got the price up at the moment, but give me 1 second. The Ainsley Bullion guys, who are absolutely spectacular. And if you go in and mention you're a Voice of Freedom person, they'll give you that, extra special helping hand, so to speak. They do look after all their clients, but they love hearing about Voice of Freedom and you guys. So let it be known, go in and make a friend. So the spot price at the moment is $34.66, which I think was about what it was night before last, and $3,082.19. I think that's down about $6 on gold. So, gee, I've minimized the wrong window there. I've lost everything. Right. So if you would like to find out why having a self-managed super fund has so many more benefits than sticking it Big Super, it should only be as simple as looking at how much people who took this advice 12 months ago have made in their gold and silver purchase, because it's, you know, a product you have to hold on to. It's not like you can run out and start selling it. Well, I guess you could, but the tax department will be all over you for it. It needs to be audited and has to be audited every 12 months. So that's really just a picture. But what it allows you to do is amazing. Take control of your wealth. Don't leave it with Big Super. If you compare the amount you would have earned in the last 12 months in your Big Super account versus how much you would have been able to make had you have bought gold and silver 12 months ago, let's say, and with the amount you have in super versus how much you'd get today for the price of it with profit, I think you'd find yourself a pretty happy person. But don't take my word for it. I'm not a financial advisor at all. The team at Ainsley Bullion will be there that night as well. And Cass and Mary Jane will be on hand to help you out, to answer all your questions about self-managed super funds. So please come along to that at the RSL in Wagga. It's on the 22nd of February, and I am going to aim to try and be there. I've been trying to get a few things fixed on the vehicle. Of course, we had the awning disaster, so that's been the mission for the last couple of days, trying to figure out how we get a new awning on this thing, because a lot of weird things going on. But at any rate, looks like next week it's going in to get a report done to find out why the thing failed in the first place. I think they've got a pretty good reason for that. Otherwise, they're going to deny my insurance claim, and that'll mean I'm up for the cost of a new awning. So that, I guess, leads me to the point where I say we could do with a donation or two, folks. If you can help us out in any way, and I know everybody is doing it tough, but if you can help us out, you can go to vofhq.com. You can become a member for as little as $1.25 a week, or you can just give us a donation through the donate button. Vince and I would be eternally grateful, and so too would Cass, who is in Queensland. She's made her way to sunny Queensland, and g'day to all the folks who are up for the weekend to check out the property. Looking forward to catching up with a few of you tomorrow morning, and it'll be cool. All right, let's get into some videos that I've found, and you might have seen a couple of these already. They have been around. I guess I'll start with this one from Dr. David Martin. Now, we talked about Vivek Ramaswamy and the fact that he withdrew from the presidential race in our last show. Now, I was a little confused at the time as to why, but if you go back a show or two before that, I did express I had some really big concerns about Vivek Ramaswamy, and he did have and there's been a lot more evidence now of other speeches too, where he doesn't seem to have quite plagiarized Barack Obama, but almost word for word, and in some cases exactly word for word, uses speeches or makes speeches that sound suspiciously like ones Obama made while he was trying to get elected. I reckon we probably found out why Vivek Ramaswamy dropped out of the race.
All of this fight about who is going to win the horse race to get to the vaccine was happening a year, 2 years before the pandemic. So we didn't even have to guess who the winner was going to be. We knew that Moderna and BioNTech were the inside runners. We knew they were going to get the contracts from what ultimately became Operation Warp Speed. These were things that were foregone conclusions, and you knew who the people were because they were already fighting over who was going to win. So they lied to Congress about the patents that the CDC, NIH, and its funded entities had. They lied to Congress about whether they had a relationship with Acuitas and Arbutus, which conveniently are Canadian firms, which made nothing but copious profits on the back of, I don't know, a thing that accidentally came into being. And by the way, we have a presidential candidate, Vivek, right now, is the guy who funded Arbutus and Acuitas. So we have a Republican candidate for president who is using for his campaign money he made on his not so publicly disclosed interests in every shot that was delivered. I wonder how that would play if, I don't know, somebody at a town hall would ask an inconvenient question like, hey, Vivek, tell us about the money you made on the back of Arbutus and Acuitas Pharmaceuticals. Why don't we actually have that conversation? Well, we don't have that conversation because the public is, number one, uninformed, and when it is informed, they are too incredulous to believe that the things I just said happen to be true.
What do you think about that? I think that's going to be a bit of a bombshell in the not too distant future. Well, Vivek Ramaswamy may drop clean out of the race, but I'm sure there's going to be some follow-up on that. As we know, Trump, of course, won 98 out of the 99 counties in Ohio in the recent caucuses, and he lost one county by one vote. Nikki Haley came second, I suppose, if you want to call it that. Now, they're touting Nikki Haley as, the only solution, or at the very least, a VP to Trump, to Trump's presidency. She won't be either, I'm pretty confident. And there are moves afoot now in the next, well, I don't know how long, but I would say in the next 2 months, they'll release her real name. Apparently, Nikki Haley isn't even her real name. So that'll be one to look out for. I wanted to show you some interesting things about the weather. So let me just, what's going on here? I have a Rumble window that doesn't want to close. There you go. That'll make life a bit easier. Now I can see what you're seeing. Well, hopefully you're seeing a bit better than that. Gee, this went well, didn't it? There we go. There we go. There we go. Click on wind up here at the top. And wow. My whole little map thing has gone into, there we go. Bit of a refresh and we'll see how that works. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Pain in the ass. What you're looking at there is the Coral Sea, and you're looking at it, let me look at the time, 7 p.m. Friday. So there you go. That image is 7 days old. Now, this thing allows you to spool forward a little bit. So if we go through to Monday, you'll see that our friend up there looks like it's starting to develop quite nicely. Thank you very much. Let's have a look at where this thing is projected to be on Australia Day, shall we? That doesn't look too nice. Earlier, that image was bouncing off Proserpine. It looks like it's going to come across there. What I was interested in was a few days later, looking up to the 28th, you can see, oops, beg your pardon, you can see that it's still turning. Yep, up here. and still showing signs. Very, very big low, a very, very big low. Now that very, very big low is going to be pushing south from Mackay, Rockhampton. It looks like there it's already stretching down to Bundaberg. There is another big blast of what will be cold air coming up from the Southern Ocean down here that will hit this warm tropical air that's being sucked in from the top and coming across Australia. Now, in Central Australia at the moment, they have got big, big heat. And next week, they're expecting 50 plus degrees in some of these big outback places, well, big, in some of these outback Western Australian areas, well over 50 degrees. That, of course, is going to put hot air into the upper air streams, which will get blown at high speed across the country. It will come here into the northern part of Queensland and be excited, played with, funneled, doing whatever they do with their little weapons. And this whole system is going to get re-energized. Now, it'll either be re-energized with rain and just be just another massive dump, which will progress further down as we reach the end of January, I reckon, and into February, further down into southeast Queensland. But I can tell you, as I did the other night, not much has changed. The lands around here where I am are absolutely sodden. The water, when it comes, has just got to run off because it's not going into the ground in any way, shape or form. There is no room left in the ground for water. And I was speaking to Skipper Pete today in Townsville, or in fact in Ingham. He's just north of Townsville. And this thing looks like, or looked like at one point, that it was going to come across there. But if we go back to Wednesday, the 24th, there's going to be a lot of rain, around that area too. This projection does seem to have updated since I first checked it out. It was about 4:30 this afternoon when I loaded the system up. And it does only go forward to 8 p.m. on the 23rd of February. I beg your pardon, on the 23rd of... get it right. 28th, Sunday the 28th of... I've got in a bit close there. Sunday the 28th of January. So these are the purple bits you want to be particularly interested in. This is some big rainfall, some big wind, and pushing down the coast. And you can see all of this is being forced onshore. So they're going to send an awful lot of water down the east coast and down into northern New South Wales. Interestingly, notice this lobe of rain that's dropping down here into northern New South Wales. Well, guess where that's going to all flood into? The rivers that go right through Lismore and surrounding areas in the northern rivers. So it could be another one of those years, folks. Could be another one of those years, very sadly. Hopefully not. If you are planning on going out and enjoying your Aussie Day long weekend, I don't know that I'd be suggesting anywhere north of, the Gold Coast, really. And even then, it's going to be wet and windy. It's going to be an interesting time going ahead. Right. Now, what else is going on in the world? King Charles is in hospital. No, I beg your pardon. The Princess of Wales, Kate Middleton, is in hospital. Now, she's having planned abdominal surgery. Did you find that a little bit strange? She did release an apology note, or her people did, and she regretted that she wouldn't be able to make those commitments that she'd undertaken to attend, and would in fact be out of action for 14 days in hospital, 10 to 14 days in hospital, and then wouldn't expect to see her in public again until after Easter. Okay. If it was a planned surgery, why is she apologizing for letting people down for events that she's booked to go in and see? Just wondering. And it was abdominal surgery, so I guess that makes it women's things, but I'm no doctor. Personally, I think it's an excuse, but that's another thing. King Charles, he's on the same day put out a notice that he is going into hospital for prostate surgery. a lot of the intel that I heard today revolved around King Charles. Part of that related to Nasara Jassara. If you've been following that, the promise when the Queen died, or when at least the public were alerted to the fact that the Queen was dead, should have been the trigger for Nasara Jassara. And yet, here we are, still waiting. No trigger. That probably means that some kind of drastic event had to be averted, and the negotiation for that was, all right, well, we can't start Nasara Jassara yet with that threat hanging over everybody's heads. What sort of a threat could do that? I think an EMP is the threat, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere, particularly in winter. If you dropped an EMP anywhere in Canada, Northern USA, East Coast today, you would kill millions, tens of millions of people within days. They would freeze to death with no way to stay warm, no electricity, no heating. They will freeze to death. So that is a pretty big threat. And if the Black Hats had an EMP that they could deploy, that is obviously one reason why this would be deferred. Okay. Let's then say you've got to go to work. If you're a white hat, you've got to go to work on finding that EMP and relieving the Black Hats of it so that that threat can't be held over you again. There may have been multiple threats like that in the interim period, but I digress. Charles, well, we're now being told that the passing of Charles, given that there was a story a couple of weeks ago just after Christmas, or was it just before Christmas, where Charles called his son William and Kate to the palace for a private discussion about the royalty. We don't know, obviously, the contents or what they spoke about, but we do know that much. It was a private discussion about the royalty going forward. Now, could this be that King Charles has received some pretty bad news about his date, or at least what's up his date, and he's going in for this surgery hoping that it'll all work? Could this surgery be an ideal opportunity for the Black Hats to have him pass away on the table, so to speak? What would happen with the horse that he married, the Queen Consort? Would she be put out to pasture somewhere? Not necessarily in a palace. I was thinking more like a prison, but, go with what you got. I have a sneaking suspicion she will go the same way as Charlie. It wouldn't be a bad thing at all. So, yes, it's all going to hinge now, apparently, on not just the passing of King Charles, but also the passing of Francis. That's Pope Francis, the white pope. If you're unaware, there are three popes, the white, the black, and the grey. Pretty confident that the black and the grey pope have both been taken care of. And the white pope has also similarly been taken care of. We're watching the movie play out. But it all appears to be coming, well, the pace the intel is coming out is rapid. It used to wait. First of all, we were waiting weeks, then we were waiting days, then we were waiting hours. It literally is like that at the moment. There are multiple intel drops on very specific areas. Nasara Jassara is one. There is another on food and the poisoning that they are doing to us with our food. Every soft drink, just about, well, everything we eat has a poison of some sort in it and a small dose of it. And some of us have allergies, some of us have, and that's how we are hit by disease through different foods. It's a mind-blowing plan to poison an entire world, a global population. But in the Western world, it's been made easy through a complicit media and a very complicit audience, an audience that wants cheap, fast, processed food and never think to ask where it comes from. never think to ask, oh, what do they put in this? And certainly didn't for many years. Okay, more of us are now, but even still, it's, weird. Another intel dump today was about Barron Trump. It was related to Donald Trump and to royalty around the world, because if you are following the story of Barron Trump and you are a believer, then you would understand that he is the son of the late Princess Diana. Is she the late? Because she didn't certainly have him when she died, but if he is indeed her son, then, well, there are stories that Trump has secretly married Diana and that they had Barron. That Melania has only ever been a plant or a show, if you like, for the public. I don't believe that that is the case. I believe that Donald Trump did adopt Barron Trump, but he is not Barron Trump's father. He is Princess Diana's son. So who is the father? Who could Barron Trump's father be? Have I mentioned Ingersoll and Lockwood before? It's a website, ingersollandlockwood.com. Go and have a look. Use your mouse to follow the lines as you are reading through them. Be very attentive of things like full stops, periods, because your mouse pointer might change from something you can't click on to something you can. There are hidden pages inside, and it would make it too easy for you if I told you where to find them. You've got to do a bit of work yourself on this. So go to Ingersoll Lockwood and have a look. You'll do an awful lot of interesting reading while you find these hidden pages. You'll see what they are into. They are, well, they're into all sorts of things, all sorts of very interesting technology. So I would commend that to you folks at your earliest convenience. Right, I think that's the end of that page. I've got a few pages of stuff here tonight, so I'm going to get on to some X39 things here fairly soon. Oh, no, it looks like I've nearly cleaned up that whole page. Silver and gold, yeah, we've done all that. We've done all that. Look, God, we might nearly be at the end of the show. Israel attacking Iran, I've spoken about that. The microneedles, oh, do you want to see what the World Economic Bullshit Forum have been up to? Well, first there's this.
And I appreciate the World Economic Forum providing me the opportunity to be on this stage and say, fuck you, Klaus Schwab, and fuck your New World Order. We, the people, were born free. We will stay free. And you and all of your globalist friends, including everyone in this room, can go fuck yourself.
So, look, you've probably seen him. There are a few different edits. The guy is a comedian, and he's done a very good job with some slick video editing there. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. What did happen, and we were all very excited about it, and I want to be still very excited about it, was the new president of Argentina got up and basically told the WEF to piss off and leave the West alone. There has been a bit of doubt cast upon the translation that was put out publicly, or at least into the Telegram accounts, about what was actually said. Now, not being a native Spanish speaker and not knowing a native Spanish speaker, apparently, because I wouldn't have thought he would have got an invite if he wasn't sympathetic to the cause, or yeah. And he has been saying and doing some interesting things. While we were lauding him when he was elected, he cut the ministries from 21 or 22, I think, down to 9. So the ministry for making people feel good and the ministry for finding out who made you feel bad and all those sort of shithouse ministries were torn up, thrown away. We saw rather dramatically torn off the wall, and no more, no more. So we were applauding that. But in recent weeks, he's come out and indicated that he was falling in line with the global elites, the World Economic Forum, obviously invited to speak, and they didn't have too many big name speakers there this year. But I would love it if you spoke Spanish at all, and you've got the time to go and have a look at his speech, and tell us what he's really saying. Then I would really appreciate it, because we don't think we can trust that translation that's come out. It might be, and they've done it to us before. Okay. But it's particularly easy to do because we are so used to seeing, this translation video put up on the news, where you see the person talking. Russia is a great example. You hear Vladimir Putin speaking, and then you hear a droll voice come over the top interpreting and telling you what he is saying. That's what the interpreter's job is meant to be, saying exactly what the person they're interpreting for is saying. But this is the internet. This is a very easy world. Anybody could dub whatever the hell they like over a speech like that, and sometimes do for satirical reasons. So yeah, just be a little bit aware. Don't think he is all that and a bit, because he just might not be all that a bit. The UN chief got up and he had some angry words to say about those of us that aren't following direction.
Dear friends, when global norms collapse, so does trust. And I'm personally shocked by the systematic undermining of principles and standards we used to take for granted. I'm outraged that so many countries and companies are pursuing their own narrow interests without any consideration for our shared future or our common goals. And I'm certain that unless we take action, we can expect much, much worse. So let's be clear, rebuilding trust is not a slogan or a PR campaign. It requires deep reforms to global governance to manage geopolitical tensions during a new era of multipolarity. And it is essential to building a safer, more stable and prosperous world. So, dear friends, the institutions and frameworks of global governance, from the Security Council to the Bretton Woods system, were created 80 years ago. We can't build a future for our grandchildren with a system built for our grandparents. The United Nations is fully engaged this year in efforts to bring them up to date, rooted in equality and solidarity based on the UN Charter and international law. In September, we will host the Summit of the Future focused on solutions. And the summit will consider essential reforms to the global financial architecture to make it responsive to today's challenges and representative of today's world.
There you go. They want to rebuild trust. Now we think, oh well, that's great. They want to rebuild trust in. They want us to rebuild trust in them, and no, the trust they want to rebuild is the trust they have that we will do what we are told when we are told. That's the trust they want to reestablish. All right, no other trust. They want to trust that we will do what we are told, and they will go to any measure. I was going to say starting with 15-minute cities, but God almighty, they started with a lot more than that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it. It's nearly run an hour tonight, folks, and I don't want to hold you up on a Friday night. It's been a big week. Ricardo's been out colourfully explaining himself. I don't think he needs to explain himself over and over and over again about his swearing. I am a bit concerned about a couple of other things that he said. But I'm more concerned for him than about anything he said. I'm just more concerned. He's come very close to a few legal precipices, I think. So I just, hope he hasn't overstepped there. But we will wait and see. If he has, I'm sure it would take a court to prove that. And if he hasn't, it'll take a court to prove that too. And if he hasn't, it's going to open up a whole interesting range of new intel and proof that we would be privy to, because he would need to show his evidence in the court. So I hope Ricardo is okay. I mean, he was frothing at the mouth. I hope he's okay, but I'm pretty concerned about some of the things that are coming out of his mouth. But God love him, he's what we got, and what do you say? I mean, it's just full on, isn't it? It's just full on. But he's had enough, and he speaks quite rightly. There aren't enough people talking about the child fuckers in this place. And I would love to name them, but I have to have proof, irrefutable proof, before I can name them. Now, Ricardo may have those contacts. He may have that evidence. He may have a file or a safe or whatever the hell with the videos inside, or the CDs, or the Super 8 film, whatever the hell it is. But I don't have it, so I'm not prepared to name anybody as as anything. I just think he needs to be a bit careful, and I am worried for his health. So not because I know that there's anything wrong. I just, there have been a few of these outbursts lately, and he has been, and I only know this because I get the emails from people who are leaving A1, and they tell me why, and I'm not sure. In fact, have I got one up? Let me just see if I had a... Okay, so here's a comment that somebody sent to me on Messenger. Wow, just watched Bosey's last. Sorry to say, but it seems like he's going crazy. At the end, saying anyone that is not in A1 is part of the rot. Yes, part of what he said that night. So many just turn away, but so many are in the fight. Well, what can I say? If you're not part of A1, you are part of the problem. Is that the case? If that's the case, then I think that the country is in a real big problem, because if A1 had any major following in the country, both he and Dave would already be elected, I would have thought, to the New South Wales Parliament, or federally during our last federal election. That wasn't to be the case. So I'm wondering, for a political party that's not a party, why it was important to gather members to get everybody's security clearances, and now we seem to be driving those people away. Those people who love Ricardo, and I'm one of them. Don't get me wrong. I was drawn to him from what he said, just like you. But over time, for a variety of reasons, not just one, but for a variety of reasons, we've all found, some things to say, oh, well, it wasn't quite like that, or some things to be disappointed in, or regardless about him. But I don't believe, and certainly not in my case, I haven't walked away from them completely. It's not a matter of walking away from them at all. It's just, as Ricardo says, we're all on different paths. But I do get concerned when he starts saying some of the things that he has been saying from a legal standpoint, because he can leave himself open to a significant legal challenge if he can't back up what he's saying and naming names. So it also depends what he's saying about those names too, to a certain extent. But we'll see how it goes. What have we got here? Stu spoke to a local member, Vicky Ward, about investigating why the judge, Home Australia, instance, aged care. All right. Let us know what they come back with, dude, because I don't expect you're going to find out too much information from them. Rach, what have you got on for us tonight? Ben Fulford said, huge ship. Well, you can be pretty confident that Joan Collins didn't get a shipment of that ship, because she looks far too good. Oh, and Rachel, Chili got a haircut today. For anybody who's seen pictures of Chili, I don't have one I can upload and show you. And I don't think Oh, no, can't even reach my phone. I don't think you'll be able to see it if I showed it on my phone anyway, but I'll get a picture of her to upload. She is back down almost to her skin, doesn't know herself, has been having a wonderful, wonderful time just lying flat out, trying to get a little bit of cool air on it, and at least she can feel the breeze. It was very funny to watch her, though, because we have a couple of dogs here and they like bones. There is a lot of bones in the backyard, therefore we have quite a few flies out there. We've got fly catchers, but the odd one gets through. She can now feel the flies when they land on her, and they scare her. Like when they land on her, she jumps. What the hell's that? So flies are going to start driving her mad. That's going to be very funny. I'm just seeing if there's any questions there that I can help with straight up. Yeah, you're right, Suze. Many believers did roll their sleeves up for the jab, the coercion. And I think that the full realization of what that really means is not apparent. We're getting conflicting messages from a spiritual perspective as well as a medical perspective regarding that. From a spiritual perspective, if you have desecrated God's creation, and by that I mean you have changed your DNA, then God will not recognize you. So that poses a significant problem to many people who were hitherto great believers in God, but were coerced into getting the jab just so they could go to church. So if that is the case, anybody with the mRNA spike in them and their soul, because it pierces that, it poisons the soul, it changes and alters that which God created, and God will turn his back from those. Now, if you're very spiritual, you'll understand that. If you're not, you're going to call me absolutely insane and crazy. I personally believe it. I personally believe you cannot have a satanic war and believe we are in a satanic war and not have a completely fucking awful ending like this somewhere in play. Because it is, after all, a battle for souls. This isn't a battle for land. This isn't a battle for territory. This is a battle between good and evil, and a battle for souls. Your soul. Now, where does the conflict come? The conflict comes from medbeds. We are being told that the medbeds, and even now that there are solutions you can take now, you can make yourself at home, that will purge the spike from your system. I wonder, because I haven't heard any research done on the fact yet, I wonder if purging the spike from your system, actually happens. You might be able to flush the system a lot, but has the damage already been done to the soul? How do you purge the soul of that damage? So while you might be able to purge yourself of the physical effects of the jab, it may be very difficult to purge your soul of the spiritual effects of the jab. And I'm not qualified to speak on that in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I don't know anybody who is. So if you do, please let me know, and I'll try and get a hold of them. Carl@vofhq.com. But I'll be honest, it's one of the biggest things that worries me and just makes me so sad about this whole thing. That it's not just the attack on our personal freedoms. It's not just the attack on our sanity. It's not just the doxing that they've done to us for years, the lockdowns. It's the disaster of the damage to the soul. And all I can say, folks, is if you were coerced into taking this jab, I feel for you. I would be looking into whatever natural cleansing, or at least whatever solutions they have for stripping this shit out of you, and praying for the best. I have to believe. Well, I was going to say something stupid. I was going to say I have to believe that God will be merciful in this case, but everybody was given the choice. Decisions have consequences, and that's I don't know how you have that conversation with God. Thankfully, it's not one I will have to have, because I have not knowingly, nor will I ever be knowingly jabbed with anything they're offering. And I'm sure there are a lot of you just like that too. Elizabeth, thank you so much for your super sticker. The problem I want to tell you about stickers now, folks, is that I'm not sure where this money will go or how I will get it. As far as I know, my Google AdSense account is closed. I will not know until next month whether or not it sends me any money, namely, whatever they leave left out of that $50 super sticker. So I will keep a track of that. But if they shut down None2K, I'm essentially then completely locked out of YouTube and Google AdSense, which is where I think these stickers are a part of the thing. So if you would like to make a donation and something like that, it would be greatly appreciated if you go to the website and drop it in at vofhq.com on the donate button, at least until we can sort out exactly what's going on with the None2K account and my access to the studio for that account. At the moment, I can't get an answer from Google at all. I can't get an answer from YouTube at all. Google are just telling me my accounts are suspended. One of them completely closed, but the others are suspended. But those suspended accounts are VoF Fri and None2K, and yet here we are broadcasting live on them. It's very bloody confusing, folks. So, yeah, I'm sorry I can't be of more assistance with that. If you are a friend of mine on Facebook, please go and have a look. I posted up a great video of a top fuel drag car going down the quarter-mile strip. Now, the vehicle or the video is in slow motion. And while it's really interesting to watch, I would say to you, watch it a couple of times. The first time, maybe keep an eye on the tires for as long as you can and look at the distortion in those tires as this thing is streaking down the track. And eventually the camera will settle on the rear wing that's, about 12 feet in the air on the back of one of these things. And you'll see that there are contrails coming off the rear wing of this drag car. You will also see them disappear rather rapidly. If they were chemtrails, of course, they wouldn't have any more racing after that event, because there would be a fog over the bloody track and rain within 10 or 15 minutes. So there'd be no more drag racing. But they wouldn't dissipate. They would grow, they would spread, and eventually it would rain. So chemtrails are a thing. Contrails are a thing too. If you'd like to learn the difference, go and have a look at a contrail being produced off the wing of a top fuel dragster. Happens all the time. If you ever go to a live event, you can see it. You can also see a top fuel dragster at Flatnacker doing over 500 kilometers an hour down the strip. At the very top of their exhaust flame, they burn nitrous or nitro. You can see there is a white, it looks like a smoke. It's not, it's a white liquid. That is actually hydrogen. The power and the heat coming out of those engines separates the oxygen and the hydrogen out of the air, out of each exhaust pipe. So these unbelievable, powerful beasts create hydrogen as they trek their way down the track. Absolutely wonderful. Ingersoll Lockwood, yep, go and check them out. Chris, thanks for pointing that one out. All right, folks, love you lots. Have a great weekend. If you are happen to be going down the Gold Coast over the weekend, I might see you. Heading down there tomorrow. We'll be out at the property for a little while, then coming back into town. I've got to do a few things around Surfers Paradise. Won't that be fun? And, well, might head down and see a mate I haven't seen in 5 months. He used to be my best friend. I'll see if he still is. Haven't seen him in an age. Check him out. But whatever you're doing, you be safe, and I'll keep an eye on what's going on around the traps. If there is anything of news to tell you over the weekend, rest assured I will jump on at any time, day or night, to try and bring it to you. Last night, I was caught up in I was just caught up with something last night. I can't really tell you what it was. It's not because it's more a personal thing for somebody else, and I don't want to get myself in trouble by even going near there. So I just had to be around for somebody else. So sorry about last night, and I will make it up to you at some stage over the weekend. I have a funny feeling we're going to be talking. That's, of course, only if I manage to steer clear of those dickheads on the road, as I hope you will.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!